Good morning, everyone. Ed Green here, continuing with my theme of project management and getting things done this morning. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of insight based on a story that I heard yesterday in the class that I'm taking. One of the instructors was talking about his time as a consultant, and he would go into businesses and they would have certain things that they would want to get done. So he would be sitting there with the group and people in a conference room, and they would say, okay, so we want to get this done, this X project with X tasks. And so he would say, okay, well, who is the lead for this? Who's the project manager? Even if it was just described as the lead. And so, good morning. So they would say, no one would raise their hand, and so it really wasn't defined. Good morning, Linda. Thanks for joining. So I'm just talking about making a commitment within a business, and how one of the consultants in my training yesterday was talking about his time where he would be in a room and the company would be trying to get something done, and he would say, well, who's got the lead on this? And no one would raise their hand. So finally the manager would say, hey, Joe, can you take care of this? Can you get this done? And Joe would be like, oh yeah, I guess I can do it. I can get this done. And so now you've got somebody assigned, right? And then, good morning, Catherine. And so then he would say, okay, Joe, do you know exactly what you need to get done? And so, well, no, not really. And so, he'd make sure everything was written down and the tasks were specified. And then you'd say, okay, Joe, so when are you going to get this done? And he said, well, I think it's going to take about 6 months. So, I'll get it done, then maybe in the fall. Okay, well, Joe, what month are you going to get it done? Oh, okay, I'll say October. Okay, well, what day in October? And what, so you'd say, oh, October 10th. Say, okay, what time on October 10th? And my point really is that when we make a commitment, whether it's with ourselves or in an organization, we need to know who's got the lead, who's in charge, who's the one who's going to really follow this through to completion, because without a leader, we never get anything done. And ambiguity really just kills yourself in your ability to get things done, and in a business to get things done. So you want to be very specific, because everybody's business is nobody's business, because no one takes any responsibility for it unless they're assigned. And what the consultant was doing is eliciting a commitment from this person. And that's the important part, because once a person makes a commitment, that's one more level up from just, hey, I'll get it done, I'll do something at some time. Once they've made a commitment, there's a certain degree of integrity that they have, and now they're like, oh yeah, I guess I did say I would get that done. So then when you follow up with them, they don't feel as resentful and, well, I don't even know if it's really my job, and this, that, and the other. And so really it's important to, one, is to get somebody assigned. Two, is to clearly define the task, because I know in my business, how many times have we set off saying, I'll do that test report, or I'll do that document, and the document isn't defined. So one of the things we do is, just early on, say, hey, write me the table of contents, and then describe what's in each one of those sections within this document. Just tell me a few sentences, not the content, but just write about what you're going to write about, so that we can both agree this is the scope of this document. And then 6 months from now, we don't both come back and say, well, I thought you were writing me a 50-page document with all this stuff in it, and you wrote like 3 pages. So it's important to define who's in charge, what the scope of the task is, and then exactly when they're going to get it done. And then the fourth thing I would add is make sure you have some times in there to follow up. And this applies in business. It's great in business because, going in as a project manager, like, that's all I do is just say, okay, who's doing this? What are you doing? When are you going to get it done? Let's talk next week to see how it's coming. And I mean, it's so simple, and yet people are amazed, like, oh yeah, that's a pretty good practice, right? And then if you do that across a larger scope, to where you have, like with my job, I'm managing 5 projects, and there's 30, 40, 50 tasks per project. So it's not one thing that you're doing, but you have to balance all these things out and then harmonize them and manage the risks and all that. So it's a lot more complex when you get to that scale. But at its root, that's all it is who, what, when, right? And follow up. And so then, you set the follow up, and the same thing you do with yourself, right? So I'm going to exercise. What am I going to do for exercise? Take a minute and plan it out. And who's responsible? I'm responsible. So if I can't work out, it's not the gym's fault. It's not my boss's fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's not, they don't have enough time. It's that you didn't analyze your time well enough to make time for the things that are important to you. So that's my challenge for you today, is to plan and hold yourself accountable. Make a real commitment to yourself to get things done as to what you're going to get done. And yes, have that integrity, because that also builds our self-esteem when we have that self-integrity. I said I was going to do this and I got it done. Now it reinforces it. You feel so much better about yourself. Like, look, I can get things done. So set small goals for yourself. Make them very specific. One of the best things, good morning, Keith. One of the best things I learned is a thing called the precision model, which is where you become even more specific, because many times people speak in generalities to themselves and in meetings and whatnot. So if you go look it up, it's a technique, you can search it on the internet, but basically the precision model, it makes you such a great questioner in business, in your life, just in inquiring in an article that you read, you're like, oh, what are they really saying here? That's pretty ambiguous. That's really a generalization, things of that nature. So that's what I'll leave you with for today. I hope you make today an outstanding day, and just enjoy yourself. Have some fun. Take some time today for yourself and make it fun. I will. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.